Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera was a famous man from Mexico. People knew him as El Chapo. This name means the shorty because he was not a tall man. For many years, El Chapo was the most powerful drug boss in the world. He was the head of a very big drug business called the Sinaloa Cartel. This group moved a lot of drugs, like cocaine and heroin, from Mexico to the United States. He made billions of dollars from this business. El Chapo's story is not simple. For some poor people in Mexico, he was like a hero. They said he helped his community. They believed he gave money for roads or food when the government did not. Songs were sung about him. These songs told stories of his cleverness and how he escaped from prison. He seemed strong and powerful, a man who rose from nothing. But for many other people, El Chapo was a very bad man. He was a killer. His drug business caused much violence and many deaths in Mexico. People suffered because of the drugs he sold. Many families lost loved ones. The drugs also caused big problems for people in America. El Chapo's life shows big problems in two countries, Mexico and the United States. It shows how the war on drugs has caused a lot of pain and not always worked well. It shows how powerful drug money can corrupt governments and police officers. It shows the poverty that pushes some people into crime. He was caught and put in prison in the United States. People around the world watched his court case. He was found guilty of many crimes. Now he is in prison for the rest of his life. But his story makes us ask a very important question. If we catch one powerful leader like El Chapo, does it truly stop the drug business? Does it make the big problems of drugs and violence go away? This book will look at his life and try to understand these questions. 2. A poor boy from Mexico. Joaquin Guzman Loera was born in a very small town named La Tuna, nestled in the mountains of Sinaloa, Mexico. His family was extremely poor, and daily life was a struggle. In La Tuna, opportunities were few, and the future seemed set for those born into poverty. The nearest school was a full day's walk away, a journey too hard for a young child to make every day. Because of this, Joaquin stopped attending school by the time he reached 3rd grade, which meant he grew up with limited reading and writing skills. His father worked as a cattle rancher, but like many others in their region, he also grew opium poppies. These drug plants brought in much more money than legal crops, so the drug trade was already woven into the fabric of Sinaloan life. Joaquin's home was not peaceful. His father was a violent man, often angry, especially after drinking. Young Joaquin sometimes had to run to his maternal grandmother's house to escape his father's harsh beatings. As the oldest of 7 children, he felt a strong need to protect his 2 sisters and 4 brothers from this constant abuse. This early responsibility and the violence he saw likely shaped his willingness to use force to get what he wanted later in life. From a very young age, about 9 years old, Joaquin started working to help his family. He helped his father grow and sell marijuana and opium poppies. This was not a new venture, but an established part of the local economy. In his late teens and early 20s, he began working for more experienced drug traffickers. During this time, he learned the complex logistics of the drug trade: how to grow drugs in large amounts, how to build networks to distribute them, and how to deal with corrupt officials to keep the business safe. These were his years of learning, and Joaquin showed he was a very fast learner. He was practical, intelligent, and quickly understood that sometimes violence was the fastest way to solve problems, a lesson learned from his difficult childhood. A key moment came in the early 1980s. Joaquin joined a powerful group called the Guadalajara Cartel. This organization was a major player in Mexican drug trafficking, being one of the first to work directly with cocaine suppliers from Colombia. Guzman and his partner, Hector Luis Palma Salazar, managed operations in the Pacific parts of Mexico. The cartel taught Joaquin advanced methods, like using planes to fly cocaine from Colombia directly into Mexico, and systematically bribing police officers, military leaders, and government officials for protection and information. Through these experiences, Joaquin Guzman grew into a smart, tough, and resourceful leader, preparing him to build his own empire. 3. The big drug business. After working for other drug groups, Joaquin Guzman, known as El Chapo, decided to start his own big organization. He called it the Sinaloa Cartel. This was around the year 1989. He teamed up with another key person, Ismael Zambada, and together they built the cartel into a very powerful drug business. El Chapo's main goal was to move illegal drugs, like cocaine, from countries in South America. He then transported these drugs through Mexico and sent them into the United States. He became famous for his very clever and effective ways to do this. One of his most important methods was building long tunnels underground. These tunnels stretched for miles under the border between Mexico and the USA. Some were simple, but many were advanced engineering projects. They had electric lights, good ventilation systems, and even small rail cars to move drugs quickly. One tunnel entrance was famously hidden under a billiard table in a house, which could be lifted with a secret switch. These tunnels helped El Chapo send massive amounts of drugs across the border. He was so efficient that some people started calling him El Rapido, meaning the fast one. But tunnels were not his only method. His cartel also used planes, flying them to secret airstrips in remote areas. They even built special boats that could travel mostly underwater, known as narco-submarines, to carry drugs across oceans without being easily seen. Drugs were also hidden inside commercial trucks and shipping containers, blending in with legal goods. The Sinaloa cartel grew into a huge global criminal enterprise. It made billions of dollars every single year. El Chapo used many complex methods to hide and move this vast amount of money, making him incredibly rich and one of the most powerful criminals in the world. His group sold many types of drugs, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and later fentanyl, to distribution networks in major cities across the United States, Canada, and Europe. However, this big and successful drug business brought with it terrible violence. El Chapo had a large army of killers known as hitmen or sicarios who worked for him. These men were very brutal. They fought rival drug groups for control of drug routes and markets, and they killed anyone who challenged El Chapo's authority or broke his rules. This constant violence was a key part of how the cartel operated. It caused countless deaths and immense suffering for people in both Mexico and the United States. 4. Running from prison. El Chapo was put in a top prison in Mexico. It was called Puente Grande Federal Penitentiary. This happened in 1993. The prison was supposed to be very secure, but El Chapo found a way out. On January 19, 2001, he escaped. The official story said he paid guards a lot of money. He then hid in a laundry cart. Workers pushed the cart out of the prison gates. A truck was waiting for him outside. This escape only took about 15 minutes. Many people thought high-level officials helped him. The escape showed big problems with corruption in the prison system. After his first escape, El Chapo was free for 13 years. He stayed hidden, but sometimes lived openly in Mexico. His drug group helped protect him and keep him safe from capture. But then police caught him again. It was February 22, 2014. Mexican soldiers and American intelligence agents worked together. They found him in Mazatlan, a city by the sea in Sinaloa. El Chapo was sent to another new prison. This one was Altiplano Federal Penitentiary, located near Mexico City. It was built to be the most secure prison in Mexico. It had advanced technology and professional staff. But El Chapo did not stay long. Less than 17 months later, he escaped again. This second escape was very surprising to the whole world. On July 11, 2015, El Chapo was in his shower area. This part of the cell was a blind spot for cameras. He went into a small hole in the floor. This hole led to a long, secret tunnel. The tunnel was about 1.5 kilometers long, almost 1 mile. It was dug about 30 feet deep under the ground to avoid being found. The tunnel had electric lights, ventilation pipes for fresh air, and even special railroad tracks. A modified motorbike was waiting on these tracks. El Chapo rode this motorbike for a long way through the darkness under the prison. The tunnel ended in a small, unfinished concrete building outside the prison walls. This operation took months to build and cost a lot of money, showing how deep the corruption went. After this amazing escape, Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto faced much criticism. Thousands of soldiers and police searched for El Chapo again across the country. 5. Caught at last. El Chapo was free again for about 6 months after his amazing tunnel escape. During this time, many soldiers and police searched for him. They looked in the mountains and cities. But El Chapo was very good at hiding. He used his money and his network to stay hidden from authorities. He even moved around his home state of Sinaloa, sometimes quite openly, feeling safe in his territory. While hiding, he made a critical mistake that helped lead to his capture. He agreed to meet a famous American actor, Sean Penn. Penn traveled to a secret place in the mountains of Durango to interview El Chapo for a magazine. In this interview, El Chapo spoke about his life and drug business. This meeting was very important because intelligence agents used information from it to find out more about his hiding places. On January 8, 2016, Mexican Naval Special Forces surrounded a house in Los Mochis, Sinaloa. They believed El Chapo was inside. When soldiers entered, a big gunfight started. El Chapo's guards were well armed. 5 of his men died, and 6 were hurt. 1 Mexican soldier was also injured. But El Chapo, true to his past, tried to escape once more. He slipped away through a secret door behind a mirror. This hidden exit led to a long tunnel connected to the city's storm drain system. He went into the dark, dirty underground passages to hide. For some hours, it seemed he had vanished again. But he was desperate. When he came out of the tunnel, he tried to steal a private car at gunpoint. After El Chapo let the driver go, the brave man immediately called the police. This call was the key. Police quickly found the stolen car and tracked El Chapo to a small motel on the edge of Los Mochis. He was tired and dirty from his time in the tunnels. This time there was no fight. They caught him and he was finally in custody again. Mexico's president, Enrique Peña Nieto, announced the capture, tweeting, "Mission accomplished. We've got him." This was truly his last capture. Soon after, Mexico decided to send El Chapo to the United States. They knew he was too powerful and corrupt to be held safely in Mexican prisons. On January 19, 2017, El Chapo was put on a plane and flown to New York. There, he would be kept in a very secure federal prison to await his trial in an American court. 6. The Big Court Case. After his capture, El Chapo was sent from Mexico to the United States. This happened on January 19, 2017. He was taken by plane to New York City. He stayed in a special prison there, waiting for his court case. His trial started in November 2018. It was held in a federal court in Brooklyn, New York. This was a very big court case. It lasted for 11 weeks. Many people worked to show the court what El Chapo had done. The lawyers for the government showed a lot of proof. More than 12 people who used to work for El Chapo spoke in court. They told about his drug business. They also showed papers and other records. Police officers who had worked to catch El Chapo also spoke. El Chapo was accused of many crimes. These included selling large amounts of drugs like cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. The government said he sent nearly 200 tons of cocaine to the United States. He was also accused of washing money and leading a crime group. A very serious charge was ordering murders. The court heard that he was linked to around 36 murders himself.
His group was responsible for thousands of deaths.
During the trial, many secrets came out. Witnesses said that El Chapo paid money to many Mexican officials. These included prison guards, police, and even high-ranking leaders. This showed how much corruption helped his drug business. On February 12, 2019, the jury made a decision. They said El Chapo was guilty of all 10 main charges. Everyone on the jury agreed. Later, on July 17, 2019, the judge gave El Chapo his punishment. He was sent to prison for the rest of his life. He also had to give back billions of dollars he made from drugs. The judge said there was a huge amount of evidence against him. El Chapo said the trial was not fair, but he went to a supermax prison where he will stay forever. 7. A hero to some people. El Chapo was known around the world as a powerful drug boss. But for many poor people in Mexico, especially in his home state of Sinaloa, he was seen differently. They called him a modern-day Robin Hood. People sang songs about him, known as narco-corridos. These ballads told stories of his cleverness and his escapes from prison. They showed him as a man who challenged the government. These communities often felt abandoned by their own government. They said El Chapo used his wealth to help them directly. He funded local projects like roads and schools. He also gave money for food and medical help when official aid did not arrive. For many, his actions showed he cared for his people more than the government did. A popular narco-corrido highlighted this feeling, saying it was easier to escape from prison than from poverty in Mexico. Even El Chapo himself, in an interview, said he was just a businessman, supplying a product to people who wanted it, not a killer. His family later used his image on food packages during the COVID-19 pandemic, reinforcing this Robin Hood idea. However, this image of El Chapo as a hero hides a very dark and violent reality. While some saw him as a savior, he was also the ruthless leader of a massive criminal empire. His drug business caused unimaginable suffering and violence. It led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people in Mexico. These were not just rival gang members. Innocent people, families, and children were often caught in the deadly conflicts. He ordered torture and murder, causing widespread fear and destruction across the country. The money he gave to communities came from illegal drug trafficking, which fueled addiction and violence in many nations, including the United States. The romantic stories and songs about him often ignored the tears, pain, and blood caused by his actions. To truly understand El Chapo, one must look beyond the myth and see the terrible violence and death he was responsible for. 8. What is his legacy? Joaquin Guzman, known as El Chapo, is now in a United States prison. He will stay there for the rest of his life. His long journey from a poor boy to a powerful drug lord has come to an end. Many people in both Mexico and the USA hoped his capture would stop the drug trade. They believed it would bring more peace to Mexico and lessen drug problems in America. However, the story did not simply end with his capture. El Chapo's drug organization, the Sinaloa Cartel, is still active today. Other leaders, such as Ismael El Mayo, took over some operations. El Chapo's sons, sometimes called Los Chapitos, also became important figures. The cartel broke into different factions, but they all continued to traffic drugs on a large scale. This shows that removing just one leader does not always stop a big criminal enterprise. The problem of drugs in both Mexico and the United States has certainly not stopped. In many ways, it has changed and grown. New types of drugs, like fentanyl, became widely available. These synthetic drugs are very dangerous and cause tens of thousands of deaths in America. Mexico continues to suffer from extreme violence caused by drug groups. It remains a very dangerous country in many regions. El Chapo's story makes us think about what his life means as a legacy. Was his capture a true victory against the drug trade? Many experts say that catching one person, even a powerful boss like El Chapo, does not solve the fundamental issues. The drug trade thrives because of deep-seated problems. These include widespread poverty, a lack of good jobs, and a high demand for illegal drugs. Also, much corruption within governments helps these criminal organizations operate freely. El Chapo was a significant part of a much bigger, complex system. He did not create the entire drug problem alone. He grew up in a place with little hope for a better life. His choices led to immense suffering. His life story shows that if we truly want to stop drug problems, we need to look at these deeper reasons. We need to fight poverty, help people with drug addiction, and stop corruption at all levels. Capturing one man, even El Chapo, cannot achieve all these vital goals. Do you think capturing one person like El Chapo can ever completely stop the drug trade? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.